Here. Brad Cook.
Here.
Jan Smith. Here. Paul Kennedy.
Here. Thank you. We have a couple of folks that have, I'd like to recognize, first of all, Mr. Rick Burnham, who's a candidate for the Alabama State Senate for District 21. I'll let you say a few words if you'd like to.
Thank you, Mayor. And you cut me off if I run too long. I was trying to be very brief. But, Mr. Mayor and members of the council and citizens of Lakeview, my name is Rick Burnham. I'm running for Alabama State Senate for District 21, which includes the Lakeview area and a big part of Tuscaloosa County. I'm a family man. My wife and I have been married for 30 years. We have two young daughters that we're proud of. One goes to Alabama and one goes to Auburn. So we'll see how we do over Thanksgiving weekend, but I hope we'll be okay. I work as an attorney in downtown Tuscaloosa. I have a solo law office a block from the courthouse. And I work on deeds and wills and car wreck cases and home purchases. I have a general practice, and I feel like I have a little bit of insight into the challenges that our families face. And I'm in this race to provide an alternative and to offer some new ideas. And I would appreciate your consideration on the ballot November 6th. I believe that there's one issue that makes me the best candidate that would deserve your vote. I pass on all PAC money payments. And I feel like that will allow me to cast the best votes and make the best decisions for each of you and for the community in Montgomery. And would appreciate your full consideration. One reason I'm standing here is that the private sewer issue is a challenge and a struggle. And I just want to let you know that if I'm elected to the Alabama State Senate, your concern of how to manage and handle the sewer system will be a priority. I'll kind of wrap up with this. My website has 4 issues that I've been running on for many months now. And one of those 4 issues is local community projects for local community needs. Clearly, the private sewer concern is a local community need that will get my top attention. So thank you for allowing me to be here. I have a few business cards I'll pass out toward the end, campaign cards. And I wish y'all a great evening. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. Thank you.
Also here is Mr. Rich Wingo. I just want to acknowledge you. And I saw sneaking in here at the last minute, Gerald Allen. How are you, sir? Good to have you here tonight. At this time, I'll ask the Parkers, they asked for an opportunity to address the council, and I will invite you up now to do that.
Yes, we was wanting to come before y'all. We come to the planning and zoning meeting and talk to everyone for the allowing chickens in the Lakeview, for the Lakeview citizens to have chickens if they want them. Yes. And we were kind of shut down in a way, so now we're coming to you guys to talk before y'all to see what, where y'all stand with us and what we may be able to do. It may be something that y'all like to look over, and once again, we do have the local municipalities ordinances on chickens in their residence, and we make copies so we give the y'all, so y'all can look it over, and go from there.
It certainly bring us the literature you have. I'm unsure on what power we have to change any of that, but I will research it.
Or maybe not even change, just add chickens as, domesticated pets, because really that's what they are.
Well, we were charged with a violation of an ordinance recently, and the judge, ruled against us, but did give us 6 months to work with the city to try to change the ordinance to allow us to keep our pets, because that's what they are, they're our pets. And we have an 8-year-old daughter who is emotionally attached to them, and we'd love an opportunity to work with you guys to, maybe there's a way to restrict chicken ownership, but we definitely like the opportunity to, try to work with you.
Yeah, I'm not trying to raise a poultry farm or anything. We just got, he sees them all the time, thank God, I see.
Well, let's do this. Give us your literature, let us research it, and I will follow up with you one way or the other. If we think there's something we can do or nothing we can do, I'll follow up with you.
Okay, do you want it now?
Sure.
Or do you want
You bring that dinner and hand it to everybody.
copies?
Okay, we'll get copies made for those.
Have pictures of our chicken so that you guys can see. She writes it all hard for this.
No, these are my copies to have.
Yeah, you can have these on.
We'll get it back to it. Okay. Okay, these are the ordinances from other cities.
Yeah, the local municipalities have worked with their citizens to allow them the freedom to have chickens as pets, and we'd like you to do the same.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, to those that came to speak tonight, you're free to leave. This is going to be a long council meeting. Stay if you'd like to stay, but just know that you're free to excuse yourself at any time if you'd like. Now we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 1, which I would like to carry forward. This was not an emergency expense, and it was not council approved. I'll second that motion.
All those in favor of, no, I'm sorry, there's been a motion and a second that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 1. Any discussion? Roll call.
Tony Bradley?
Yes.
Nancy Ray?
Yes.
Vivian Lee?
Yes.
Brad Cook?
Yes.
Jess Smith? Yes. Paul Calhoun?
Yes. All right. Minutes from the previous council meetings. We had one, no, we ended up striking that correction, didn't we? Any discussion on the minutes? I'll make a motion to accept them as recorded.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian? Yes. Brad?
Yes.
Jan? Yes. Paul?
Yes, thank you. All right, we need to add, we need to move item 1 over to new business. That would be
K. Oh, yeah, we took first.
Approval of the agenda with the additions under old business, which would include B through H, and under new business, F through K. Any discussion? Roll call.
I'll make a second.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Roll call.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy? Yes. Vivian? Yes. Brad?
Yes.
Jan? Yes. Paul?
Yes. All right. Department business, building inspector.
Well, some of my numbers are a little high due to this meeting, so, anyway, we had, 57 building and miscellaneous permits been issued over the last couple of months. I've had 152 scheduled inspections through, this time period of time. These are scheduled inspections, these don't have anything to do with the ones where I actually just drive by and check on a daily basis. We've collected over $15,000 in permitting fees and other fees associated with the building department. And then, of course, obviously, I do visit with a lot of contractors throughout every day in the week. When I go through, we've got 4 new construction sites going on in the $1 million acres alone, not counting the ones we have going on over here in the Sand Hill Reserve. And then, of course, I work on compliance continuously as the community finds out that there is a full-time inspector who actually comes out and checks on, specific compliance, including Mr. Fisher. I actually get complaints on him too. But I have to, keep him in check. So anyway, like I said, I have a day inspection to deal with, and I had 3 pending court cases, and there was some discussion earlier. All 3 cases were found guilty of non-compliance with the regulations that the city has in place at the time. There were 2 variance requests that came up since we were able to appoint the new variance adjustments. Both of those were reviewed and approved. The committee has done a really good job in reviewing those applications and verifying that these are just variances that they're issuing. They're not just granting them just to be granting them. And then I've had to issue 6 stop work orders over the last couple of months. And all of those stops have been reversed or lifted due to the contractors coming into compliance with the regulations that obviously have been forthcoming. If you have any other questions, that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you, George.
I'd like to thank the folks in the Board of Adjustments for jumping in and quickly resolving, meeting and resolving the request for variances that we had. Very much appreciated.
Police Department, Chief Fred.
For the month of July, we had 3 arrests on warrants, 106 dispatched calls, 2 road arrests, 6 false alarm calls, 4 felony arrests, 25 incident offense reports taken. We drove a total of 5,597.7 miles, 6 non-traffic citations, 5 other arrests, 51 outside agency assists, 47 traffic citations, and 4 traffic accidents. For August, we had 4 arrests on warrants, 76 dispatch calls, 4 road arrests, 5 false alarms, 1 felony arrest, 12 innocent offense reports, drove 6,717.2 miles, 10 non-traffic citations, 1 other arrest, 51 outside agency assists, 57 traffic citations, and 4 traffic accidents.
Jim, how was your trip? How was your school?
It was good. Very good.
Learn anything?
Oh, sure. Every time I do.
You care to tell us a little bit?
Not really. A lot of it is not for dissemination, not so.
And I'd like to thank you, Chief, for your expense report,
Thank you.
for having everything there, including all the little tiny receipts. That's really what it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else for the chief? Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Court, Carol.
Okay. Starting in June again. Or would you like all the short version? You want all the short version? August. We started off with $58,010.56. We deposited $5,129.96. We withdrew $6,258.16. And we ended up with a balance of $56,882.36.
Any questions for Carol? Thank you. For those of you that came in late, we're not just cutting this short. We actually got the long version during the workshop immediately before this meeting, so that's the reason we were able to take the shortcut this time. Thank you, Carol. And Cheryl.
Can I have a shortcut too?
Yeah.
Okay, for August, beginning balance was $297,922.19. Paid out $40,564.51. Deposited $22,723.24. Ending balance $280,080.92. In the savings, beginning and ending balance is the same, $252,730.05.
Any questions for Cheryl? Fantastic. All right, moving right along, down to old or unfinished business. A is the sewage issue. Anybody want to discuss that?
My understanding is that we're waiting on information. What are we waiting on?
Well, we're waiting on a number of things. We're waiting on the Tuscaloosa Health Department to see if we can actually put one in. And I've actually reached out to Mr. White a number of times, and we're attempting to arrange a meeting this time.
Do we need to, the $300 that we have not voted, that has not passed in a vote, does that $300 need to be paid? Brad?
According to Keith, he doesn't feel like we should have to pay it, but he said the health department may stick to their guns and make us pay it. He feels like it's a town, the county should be helping a town in their county. So he's got a point. It'd probably be good to have it just in case.
I would like to make a motion if the health department with the Tuscaloosa County requires us to pay an additional $300 for the town of Lakeview to pay. That is my motion.
I'll second that motion, and I will add some discussion. Our goal is to discern if tapping on the sewer would be the best option for the town versus putting in a septic tank. We cannot make that decision if we don't know what we can do and what we cannot do. And in order to do that, in order to have all the information we need, we're going to have to spend the $300 if they make us pay it, in my opinion.
So it's been at least 3 months and nothing has been resubmitted yet.
We had to wait until we got permission to submit it with the $300 check.
We had the special workshop meeting with Keith Haber, and my understanding from what he said was that he felt like the application would be an amended application and not a new application, and that he would submit it without the fee, and that if the fee was required, he would make a few phone calls to see if he couldn't get them to change their minds. Keith specifically stated in that meeting that night that he was waiting on the council or the mayor to instruct him to submit that application.
And with that being said, can we not tonight, if the county health department will not let us make the amendment for it to be resubmitted, can we not tonight go ahead and vote for that $300 to be spent? So we don't have to wait another 30 days to come back and say, okay, they didn't allow it. If they allow it, great, we don't have to spend it, that's even wonderful. But I think we should be prepared if they make us, let's be ready. So we can, until we get that information and we get the other information, we're just prolonging even the discussion of what we can do in the future.
May I ask George Pickle a question, please?
Certainly.
George, you have been a long time, you know all about sewer and septic. In your humble opinion, how should the town go? What is your advice to give to the town?
With us being on the minimal amount of land that we have in the back, without that finished discussion in reference to Mr. Thornton and the mayor, my recommendation would go sewer, because it will not have enough area to incorporate all of the things that we need to put in there. If we were to get the additional area so that we could have additional landfill field lines to absorb our additional structures and continue growth, then that may be the option to go that route. But without it, we're so confined with the availability and the required secondary. I don't believe that the option would be to go to septic, we need to go to sewer.
Thank you, George.
Something they said about the additional, about information, I understand that we need to find out from the health department whether or not they would even approve putting a new septic system here, but we still would need to, if we do get that approval, we still need to price the cost of the septic system. So we still
That's
not
correct.
have the information.
That's correct, but if we don't take our first step, we can't go to a second step to even compare our two options. And I feel like we have just drugged on and on. Sewer may be the best thing, but our job sitting up here as council members and the mayor is to look at both options and see what is best for the town. Without us being able to get that information, we are not doing our duty as council members to represent our town. And that's where I'm at.
Councilmember, Dan, she's absolutely correct. For us to verify you would have to have an approved system to determine whether it's going to be beneficial or not by the health department, and then evaluate the cost it would take to put that system in and compare those costs to the sewer costs.
That is exactly correct.
So the $300, I agree that $300 absolutely would be best to put it out, so that should the additional land improvements or whatever the mayor and our engineer Hager is discussing, that option become available, that they can go ahead and write that check and go ahead and do that application if necessary. I think that I agree with our engineer that because this is a resubmittal of an application that had requested additional information, that we shouldn't have to pay it. But we got to go to the process first to appeal to the supervisor, and the supervisor says, no, we got to pay it, we need to be able to go ahead and pay it, not wait for another council meeting.
That is exactly correct, and that's what I will make sure.
$300 is a minimal fee to be able for the council and mayor as a whole to make an adequate decision for what's best for the community here and with the town hall.
Now, we have a motion and second. Is there any more discussion that we need to have before we vote?
There needs to be some discussion on getting Keith paid for the work that he's done too, that they keep holding off with the,
Well, let's do one thing at a time. Let's talk about this $300. Any other discussion? Again, the motion is that we have a check prepared, to have approval for a check of $300 for a submittal fee to Tuscaloosa County Health Department if it becomes necessary to reevaluate our septic tank installation at Town Hall. Roll call, please.
Tony?
No, but I am willing to come in for a special meeting if it needs to have a special meeting to approve the $300 check. So, no.
Nancy? No. Vivian?
No.
Brad?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Can I write a check to Tuscaloosa County and give it to the clerk for her to hold if they require, I'll pay the $300? Is that acceptable? I think it's ridiculous. I'll pay the $300.
Moving on. Budget finance.
We discussed in the workshop that Budget and Finance Committee needs additional members.
I had just a very brief conversation with Mr. Hudson.
Yes.
So he's willing, if the council so chooses, to be part of the Budget and Finance Committee. Ms. Jo Sharp said she's willing, again, with the approval of the council. So that would be us, 2 additional committee members.
I agree with both of those, so I recommend Ms. Jo Sharp, Mr. Ben Hudson, and I would like to add Ms. Vivian Bean. She has asked to serve on that as well, so I would offer her those 3 up to the council.
I'll make a motion, we approve those 3 members. Or I'll second the motion.
Yes, thank you. Any discussion on those 3? Jo Sharp, Ben Hudson, Vivian Bean, for service on the Budget and Finance Committee. Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian?
Yes. I guess I can vote for myself.
You say,
Brad?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Paul?
yes, thank you. And thank you, Annette. That has not always been an easy spot, and you have not had all the help from me that you needed, and I apologize for that. I appreciate the work you're doing.
So that brings me to my next question, please. I need to know that if for whatever reason the mayor can't attend the committee meeting, who's gonna let me in the building? So that's something to,
I'll ask you the day of the committee, the meeting, just to make sure that I'm still on track, and I will get the building open if I can't be here.
all right.
Thank you.
So then, last but not least, since we now have possible new members to the committee, I'm asking that the committee will meet the next couple months every other week, due to the fact that the draft version was supposed to be approved tonight and the budget was supposed to go into effect October 1st. At this time, we don't even have a draft. So that means the different departments need to submit, with the exception of the building inspector, need to submit the budgets. Currently, budget compared to actuals, our expenditures, we spend 110% of budget. And we still have the month of September expenditures to come in. So just roughly with projections, we probably end up at 122% to budget by the end of September.
Annette, do you have specific nights that you would like to have those meetings every other week?
I need to look at the calendar because I'm at year end currently, so I think I need to get together with the other committee members and see what works the best for everybody.
Okay.
I don't think we can please everybody, but I think we need to get as many as can.
Well, get with those, and you just tell me when it is, and I'll make sure it gets out. Thank you. Anything else, Annette?
I think that's where we are right now.
Okay, thank you for your service there.
Thank you.
All right, next up, resolution, this is item C, resolution 71-12-14-17 that was passed late last year.
I asked for that to be on the agenda. It's clear that the council approved this resolution in December 2017, but we have very different perceptions of its meaning and intent. I submitted the resolution to Attorney Tanae Frazier at the Alabama League of Municipalities for a written opinion. She stated back to me is the resolution is ambiguous and leads to different interpretations. Repealing or amending the resolution to specify the clear intent of the council in regards to committee and appointments is recommended. So tonight, I would like to make a motion that we repeal Resolution 71-12-14-17, that all committee and commission membership stand as they were approved by the council in February of 2017, or has been approved by the council since then. We established some new committees since then, including documents, history committee, and the activities committee.
So second motion. When you also then you're taking away the Board of Adjustments?
No, I said, all committee and commission membership stand as they were approved in February 2017, or as approved by council since then.
My opinion is that we can amend this resolution without completely repealing it.
You've got a motion and a second.
Yeah, and I'm going to have a discussion at this time, Mr. Ed. My opinion is that we can amend this to take out the ambiguous wording, and I too have struggled with the wording of this resolution, so I have no problem in reviewing it and restructuring it, but I do have a problem with repealing it myself. Any other discussion?
If we don't repeal the resolution and we do not agree on an amendment to the resolution, then we are still left in the situation of having ambiguous rules.
Everything we do with the council is a process. If we can't do that, then we still have the option to repeal it at a later date.
But it stands as it is if we do not repeal it.
Or amend it, you are correct.
So I think that we should repeal it and then make another one.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Just so that I'm correct, the motion is to repeal it.
The motion is to repeal it.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian?
Yes.
Brad?
No.
Jan? No. Paul?
No. Thank you. We will start working on that for the next month. All right. Item D, mayor trip surrounding my lack of receipts from the trip I took in February last year.
I also asked for that on the agenda. Mayor Callahan incurred expenses between January 4th and March 2nd that exceeded the approved expenses related to a trip to the National Tornado Summit in Oklahoma City. The mayor has said every month since March that he will provide itemized receipts for those charges that were put on the town Visa card. Those receipts have never been received. Tonight, when asked about it in the workshop, the mayor said that he still has not received those, or has not secured those receipts. I make a motion that we compel Mayor Paul Calhoun to reimburse the town of Lakeview within 60 days in the amount of $1,038.57, which include rental car charges of $339.79, fuel for the rental car, $11.55, Uber charges totaling $15.87, hotel charges of $551.36, and early bird check-in charges with Southwest Air for $120.
I have to second that one.
Okay, we have a motion and second that the mayor be required to reimburse the charges as described by Councilperson Bray. Any discussion?
Well, it's not the taxpayers' money, it was yours. I mean, you used the taxpayers' money for your own convenience, and that's why I think it should be paid back.
I can
But we're
certainly...
sitting on the trip. So he's not supposed to be able to get around, and he's not supposed to sleep or have a room to lay down in.
We gave him a budget, and we did not approve the car rental, we did not approve the Uber. The mayor stated himself that he was too drunk to drive.
That is not what the mayor stated. The mayor stated he had had a drink at a reception with the convention, and he was not going to drive a car when he had a drink. That's exactly what he says.
And I apologize, Mayor, but we did not approve the other.
Very good. I would disagree with that.
Further discussion, I actually have the recorded discussion of the trip, what was approved and what was not approved. You specifically said that rental cars would not be needed. Rental car was not approved in advance. As far as the hotel, then, we did say that we put you in the host hotel, but any business person knows that you turn in receipts. And we would like to see that receipt for that hotel to see what the townspeople are paying for. If they are paying for the straight number of rooms at the straight rate, have no problem at all with reimbursing you. But until we get those receipts, I'm not going to blanket give the people's money for something when we don't have receipts.
That's understandable. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
And the receipts, can you get the receipts from the hotel?
I've called to get receipts. I have not received them yet. I have not expended as much energy on it because I felt like I'm bringing the credit card statement in, which shows everything I have. So let's vote.
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian?
Yes.
Brad?
No.
Jan?
No.
Paul?
No. All right, item E, discretionary spending.
For several months, we've had discussions about the mayor incurring debts that were not approved by council, and in a mayor-council form of government, those expenses are required to be approved by council. We've talked about this month after month after month. The mayor has stated that he has permission to spend $2,000. We've asked for that resolution or ordinance or whatever. We still have not seen that. So there still seems to be some issue around the mayor's authority to incur debt for the town. I would like to make a motion to strike a 5-person task force comprised of at least 1 council member and at least 4 current Lakeview residents to make recommendations to the council on an ordinance that will outline the mayor's spending authority with guidelines that adhere to the Alabama Constitution and the Code of Alabama, and to lay out definitions of things like what does constitute emergency spending, and let us lay this to rest. And the people of the town of Lakeview would be the ones who would comprise this task force. And according to law, I have to second the motion.
Thank you for that, Vivian.
You're welcome.
Who will do this electing of the citizens? Each council member choose one.
I think that would be a great idea. And that'd be very good.
I think that everybody seems to be in agreement with that?
You want to amend the motion to include that?
Make the motion and then appoint the committee.
Okay, for the record, it's been recommended that we, each council person, and I'm assuming that will include the mayor, recommend one person to serve on this committee. Solely at their discretion, but it's got to be a citizen of the town.
I believe my motion was resident.
Resident, yeah. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Tony,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Vivian. Yes. Brad,
Yes.
Jan. Yes. Paul.
Yes. Thank you. Motion passed.
I do have a question. So that we're not putting somebody on the spot, do we need to set a deadline that each council member, give a name?
Let's send emails to each other with those recommendations, copy everybody, so there's no room for any
Yeah, so that we're maybe not choosing the same person, you know?
That's right. Let's have them in by 2 weeks, the 28th. That'd be good. That's a Friday. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Which current council member would like to serve on this committee?
Tommy, do you have time to serve on this committee?
I'm done. But I have no problem if someone else wants to do it.
Brad, do you have time to serve on it?
I really don't right now.
Okay. Jan?
Honestly, don't have the time.
And I maybe I prefer to have a designated. Which I'll have a name.
Directors.
Yeah, I'll have a name submitted by the deadline.
Okay, I will serve.
Thank you.
Let's see. Documents and forms.
We have been working on a website project for quite some time now. The website developer has developed our website, but we still have not taken advantage of what's available to us because we are not providing the documents that we're being asked to provide. Actually, we're just not, I think, not approving the documents that need to be approved. So this project has drug on and drug on and drug on and drug on, and we're, again, not serving people adequately in my mind. I would like to make a motion that no forms, documents, permits, etc. submitted to any council member for approval, authorization, edit, etc. be held without action for more than 45 days.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and second that any documents sent to a council member for any action be not held for more than 45 days so that we can get them operational and on the website as timely as possible. Any discussion?
I think it's safe to say that, it doesn't mean that they have to be completed in 40, I mean, if I'm working on something and I cannot complete it in 45 days, I need to either shift it to someone else who can take the reins and run with it, or, finish the project, but just not let it sit and die.
I would agree with that completely.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Tony,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Vivian.
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Jan. Yes. Paul.
Yes. Thank you. Motion passed. Supplies cost.
In reviewing the last 3 months' financials,
You skip one.
You skip one.
Yeah.
Yeah, G, employee training request.
No, I'm sorry, I wrote my three down beside the wrong thing. Bear with me. Thank you all. Employee training requirements, let's do that instead.
we talked some months ago about getting a discount from our workers' comp insurance and some other things, based on the fact that our employees would do a certain amount of training every year. My understanding is that we've never followed through with that. I know that our police officers are also required to have CEUs and weapons requalification every year and that type of thing. I think we need to tighten that up a bit, and I'd like to make a motion requiring that every employee in the town of Lakeview meet the minimum requirements for training as established by the council and state and local requirements. Any employee not meeting the requirements are given 21 days to comply. If the requirements are not met after 21 days, the employee is suspended without pay with no job protection until such time as the requirements are met.
I want to clarify, see if I'm on the same, understand what you're saying. So the several months ago that we talked about, we could receive free discs from the legal, is it from the legal municipality? From the insurance company. They're what, less than 20 minutes in length? They send them to us free of charge, and everybody can take time, and we also talked about, we have no problem with them watching them on company time. It's just 20 minutes.
Some are shorter than that.
Yeah, some of them are shorter than, I think a lot of them are shorter than that. And we made them, it was done, but I don't, like Tony said, I think we followed through with making sure that we follow through with those guidelines. That being said, I will second that motion.
In that vein, I'm not sure what you're basing that on. We have been receiving and returning the compact disc, have we not, Cheryl?
How many has been done?
7, 8.
Something like that.
We get it and we keep it until everybody has finished that one, and then we send it back. You are limited on how long you can keep it. There's a period of time, but...
There are times when we send in a request that other municipalities have those, and they'll send us a letter telling them they're checked out, and they will send them to us when they're available.
So that process is ongoing.
So I know that we had some of them, and you said that you had watched them, but nobody else had watched them. But since then, other employees have watched them.
Yes, I mean, I've got a list that where I'm still on the waiting to get some, because they've been checked out by other municipalities.
Okay.
My thought is that if we are audited, whether it is our employees being audited by the insurance company or a post or anything like that, we need to make sure that we are in full compliance.
Really, I think that this would be overkill. We already have policies and procedures in our handbook that require training, and the training be timely. The police officers, their ability to stay certified is dependent upon it. So I think this is just overkill, but that's my opinion.
Mr. Mayor, may I say also, Paul and Straden, when the council will approve the ambulance, and my policies and procedures, I require that we train twice a year. A post only requires once. I require, I have my arms instructors, that we shoot an 80%, where A post only requires 70%. So we are above standard.
Thank you, Ed.
Yes, sir.
That's certainly something we're proud of, and the award that the city received, being the safest suburb in the state, was nothing short of a fantastic accomplishment. It's the hard work of the police department that did it. We still have a motion and second, and I stated that I just don't believe it's necessary. Any other discussion?
I've read the entire town of Lakeview municipal employees handbook, and I don't remember seeing anything in there about
training.
Okay.
While on the subject on policies and procedures, Chief Eddie, the council has not approved the police policy and procedures. We haven't even seen it.
Okay, let's stay on this right now, Councilman Bain, and we'll move forward.
That is one of the requirements, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this topic? Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian?
Yes.
Brad?
No.
Jan? No. Paul?
No. All right, I tried to jump ahead earlier, we'll move back to supply cost.
A couple of things I'd like to address here. Trying to choose my words carefully. There is the perception of some that I have seen on Facebook, social media, that people in the town of Lakeview are using supplies for personal use. And I think we need to nip that in the bud to make sure that everybody understands that we are doing things ethically. So there are a couple of things out there that I think should be addressed. One of them is that April 2017, the town purchased a tablet for approximately $800 for use by the previous building inspector. The tablet was returned to the town when that inspector left Lakeview. The tablet is property of the town of Lakeview and is currently being used by Mr. Calhoun. We've never had a vote on that. I believe the motion is that the tablets purchased for the building inspector will be returned to the town, and the data plan on it suspended until such time as the council decides or votes on a disposition of exactly what we will do with that tablet.
Didn't you request using that in a workshop and we all agreed?
I don't think it ever went to a vote.
We discussed it.
For anyone that's questioning that, I mean, that is the tablet that I went to just a moment ago to make notes about the recommendations for the committee that's going to review discretionary spending. I use it for city business constantly. So it is in use. When we hired a new building inspector, I offered it to him. He said he did not want to use the tablet, and that's when I put it into service for myself. If it's the council's wish to have it turned off, then we can certainly go with that, but it is certainly something that I use all day, every day for the town's business.
Exclusively for the town's business?
No, not exclusively for the town's business. There's personal things on the calendar. I send personal emails through it. That's not surprising, I don't think.
What is the cost?
It was purchased for about $800.
What's the data plan?
Yeah.
Do you know what we pay?
I mean,
It's $10, I believe.
reason, so you can't.
That's what I think,
I think it's $10 a month compared to the AT&T bill
I'll have to look
to
at
have that access. You made a motion, did you not?
I did.
Okay. Did we get a second?
I think that we need to research it a little bit more before we decide on that, because if he will only use it for town business, it would be beneficial. But if he uses it for personal, then no, because it belongs to the taxpayers. And I am for the taxpayers' money being spent for the people. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay. I value your opinion, certainly.
Is that that $10 data, is that an unlimited data plan?
I don't think it's done.
I believe it's $10 will get you the actual amount for sure. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Is there a second?
No, second.
Oh, there's no second.
Seconded.
Okay, thank you.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian?
At this time, I have to say yes.
Brad?
No.
Jan?
No.
Paul?
No.
The other part of that, again, is the perception that supplies are leaving this building. I'd like to make a motion that any supplies or equipment owned by the town of Lakeview will be kept in the town of Lakeview or the Cartburn building. No copiers, fax machines, laptops, desk computers, stores of supplies, etc. will be taken from town hall without approval of council. Of course, it does not apply to the town vehicles, which some of our employees take on.
When you say town vehicles, you talk about the police cars, I don't think you're changing equipment in here.
Right. No, I mean, it does not apply to, like, George.
Yeah.
Car home.
Right.
But things like, paper, ink cartridges, pens, pencils, that sort of stuff. It's purchased for the town of Lakeview, the use of the town of Lakeview, stay in this building.
So you're also including in that, all evidence, all that kind of stuff needs to be made 100%
Saying that the evidence has to be talking about supplies and
supplies and all that stuff.
yes.
Okay, I have some discussion. We do have a motion. The council approved a printer for my use to be at my home. For that printer, I do take ink cartridges and paper. I have a second printer. That printer is solely used for city business. I have a second printer that can be easily verified by anyone that's active in the same location that I have the city printer. And I'm assuming that this is one more thing directed at me, so I want to make that clear, that if anyone is seen me leaving the building with paper or ink, I have a city printer at my home.
Do you have a minutes or a motion or a resolution or an ordinance or anything?
It can be found where you and the entire council voted for it.
Again, we're going back to perception and what is being, the trash talk that's going on. And it seems to me like we would want to take the high road and shut down speculation that people are using.
Ms. Brad, my city business does not stop when I leave the council hall. I am wrapped up in city business every day, all day. I go home, I sit down at my desk, I write letters, I do things in my home that are for the city all day long. Don't apply your experience and your daily requirements and commitment to what I have to do and what I do daily.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I've served under 2 other mayors on this council, and none of them had town computers or printers or tablets at their house.
I will say, I've also served under a different mayor, and yes, ma'am, he had a computer, and we paid for the internet at his house. We also paid his ink cartridges and his paper. And he had a cell phone as well. And that was from 2004 to 2008, Nancy Gregg was on the council with him.
I don't recall the internet charges, I don't recall the paper on that, but I do recall the,
I know that when it comes to both my service on the council and my employment, I do work from home often at my convenience. It is for my convenience that I work from home. My company provides me with everything that I need to work at my office. And if I choose to work from home, that's on my dime. I think if someone chooses to work at home for their own convenience, then they're certainly welcome to do that as long as there are no violations of confidentiality and that type of thing. But I just don't see that
I think this is a different type scenario, Tony. We are not paid employees of the town, and the mayor is not paid to be here from 8 to 5. We are elected, voluntarily paid zero to work for our town. And thank goodness we have people that will work away from town, but worried about a printer and some paper and an ink cartridge for the mayor, I just think that's being a little bit overboard, and that is my opinion. Thank goodness he'll work at night.
And I'm confused on what's changed from the unanimous vote that came when I asked to take it home for the convenience to today.
I think some of the things that have changed have been, like I said, part of it is the perception. The other part of it is what appears to be excessive use. We've not had a meeting in months. How many printer cartridges do you need to write some letters? I have a printer on my desk at work that I use exclusively because of the nature of the work I do. I'm not allowed to print on any printer other than the printer in my office. And I do not use a printer cartridge every other month. There was an order for laser jet paper. Not sure what project is being printed for the town of Lakeview that requires expensive laser jet paper. So again, my thought is to err on the side of caution, and there'll be no, people's perception is their truth, and anytime we can take the high road and nip that in the bud, I think that we have an opportunity to do that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Did we have a second?
What was the motion, please?
Motion that any supplies or equipment owned by the town of Lakeview may only be kept at the town of Lakeview Town Hall or the cart barn. No copiers, fax machines, laptops, desktop computers, supplies, anything like that be taken out of the town hall without approval of the council.
Any other discussion or a second before we move on?
I'll second it and we can revisit it,
Okay?
and if we feel it needs to be reversed after, we've thought about it or reviewed, or can find some information of how much is supposedly being used. Until we do that, it should be no problem.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian?
Yes.
Brad?
No.
Jan? No. Paul?
No. All right, that takes care of old and unfinished business. Wow. Down to new business. Please, if anyone needs to excuse themselves, just do so quietly. We understand we're running long. New business, decal for the building inspector's vehicle. We had Councilperson Brady had brought in a sample of what that would look like several months ago, and we never got around to voting for it. This would be two decals, one for each side of the truck, and they were magnetic, really not ready to be removed.
Well, they were PLC, very easy to
Okay. They will come off if we need to sell the vehicle at some point then. Both were somewhere between $50 and $60.
It was either 50 or 55. I think it was $55.
I'll make a motion that we order those decals, spending up to $60
Second.
for the decals. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes. Following candidates for the clerk's office, we discussed in the workshop that the locks are broken on some filing cabinets that need to keep some sensitive information safe. And
I'd like to make a motion to purchase one filing cabinet. It can be revisited for additional after a budget is passed.
that sounds like a smart move. I'll second that. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes. All right, thank you. Desk for clerks.
I'd like to make a motion that is tabled until the budget is passed.
I second that.
Any discussion? I would agree that it probably needs to wait until the budget is passed. All right, we have a motion and second. Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian? Yes. Brad?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes. Still on the list are new phones for town hall, speech recognition software for the clerks. I would make a motion that both D and E be lumped together and we vote on both of those until the budget has been passed.
I'll second that.
They're both very valuable things that we do need, especially that phone system, because we, as she said, we can't answer phones for other departments without running upstairs and picking the phone.
I would like to request that Annette maybe look, that the clerk provide her with the prices for those items and see if they can be worked into the budget. She has a list.
Got a magic wand back there, Annette?
I got one item that's gonna be on the budget now.
Who seconded that?
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian? Yes. Brad?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes. All right, item F, council knows, because you're all copied on the letter that we received from Attorney Eric Toxey, that he, after careful consideration, respectfully rescinded his application for work with the city of Lakeview. We could call for votes tonight of the remaining candidates, but I believe that we would be better served by spending the next 30 days locating candidates just as we did before. Returning here next month prepared to make recommendations.
Mayor, can we at least make a motion to hire Prince?
Well, I don't think we're going to get anywhere with that, but if you want to make a motion, I'm okay with you making it.
I would like to make a motion that we hire Prince. Remember the motion to say hiring at a flat rate of $150 an hour. Correct. Second.
Motion and second that we hire Mr. Prince. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian?
Definitely.
Brad?
No.
Jan?
No.
Paul?
No. Thank you. So, we okay with moving forward without voting on the other one and coming back to the table?
I'm good with that.
All right, let's do that. During the workshop, it was brought up that
You should have added that to the,
we should have, that we purchase a computer for the court. Now, we're not coming up with that. It would, so that's not really a problem we have with our budget, because that would be court funds, would it not? All we need to do is approve it.
That is correct.
The computer from court. So, from the workshop, you'll recall that we were asked to purchase I believe it was a laptop for the court to use. This would be purchased with court money. It would not come out of the city's budget.
It would be for use during court night.
During court, that's right. So
It doesn't affect the computer that Carol is currently using.
No.
And it would be a
Do you have a
laptop.
price on that?
We purchased the one for the building inspector not long ago at all.
Do you remember how much that was?
I don't remember, I can pull the paperwork.
George, do you remember about what the price was on that laptop that, I mean, you researched the price, you got us the price.
That one was really sort of pricey because it had the ability to dock in and turn into a desktop computer.
Well, that's, but we wouldn't want to go over that.
Which is excessive for you can buy a Mac for that.
So up to 12?
I would say no more than 8. You can get, they're not going to need super power up here. I would think 8 would be plenty for a desktop to do what they need to do. A laptop, excuse me. I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of a laptop computer expending up to $800.
I'm seconding. Will it need to be networked some kind of way? We need to also.
Carol, would it need to be networked? I mean, you know what it's gonna be.
She's not ready, yes. We can work off a lot of stuff.
They can put a wireless card on the back and work off Wi-Fi.
We can get one that's Wi-Fi ready and we'll just right in. Yeah. Okay. So we have a motion and second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vicky? Yes. Fred?
Yes.
Jan? Yes. Paul?
Yes. Employee evaluations.
Oh, 5 minutes. Two issues, Town of Lakeview Municipal Policies and Procedure Manual, Article 7 says, the mayor at the end of each fiscal year will evaluate all employees. The evaluation will become part of the employee's permanent personnel record. This, along with the financial status of the municipality, will be a determining factor in pay increases. End of the fiscal year 2017, the town had at least 8 employees that were not evaluated. I'd like to make a motion to require these annual evaluations be completed for the employees still employed and documentation received by the town clerk no later than our next meeting, which is October 11th.
I evaluated the employees last November, and I would plan to do that again this November.
Cheryl, are those in personnel files that you're aware of?
Cheryl does not have copies of those.
So what is your pleasure, Tony? Do you just, this is just input here, do you think, don't you think it would be better to evaluate those employees prior to passing a new budget so that if it is determined or you feel that the employees need a raise, that it is done before we even pass the budget? Now, I understand that this particular year, she's got October the 11th, 2018, is later because our budget actually starts, new budget actually starts on October the 1st.
We have 3 employees that have not even been here a year yet, so yeah, I have no issues with doing employee evaluations. I'll go along with whatever the wish is of the council there.
Tony, your motion is still on the table?
Yeah,
Can you read it again for me?
The motion is to require that these annual evaluations be completed and the documentation received by the town clerk for the personnel files.
Well, some of that,
It specifically says in the municipal policies and procedures, it specifically says this evaluation will become part of the employee's permanent personnel record. So if they're done and they're in the personnel record, then other than moving them from one place to the other. Nothing else would be required.
Yeah, I don't think a motion's even gonna be necessary, because I can move the ones I've got, and, I can go on and bump up evaluations from November to now, since we're still working on the budget, so that will not be an issue for any of us.
All right, thank you, I will for all that information.
It's a good idea.
Also, for the town of Lakeview, municipal policies and procedures manuals, it says that all employees will have a 6-month probationary period of employment, and at the end of the probationary period, the mayor will submit to the town council a written evaluation of the employee's performance before he or she becomes a permanent employee. Again, that is not...
That has never been done.
Never been done.
Never been done.
I'd like to make a motion to compel the mayor to complete these probationary evaluations, present them to council as required by the policies and procedures manual no later than October 11th, the next council meeting.
I would say that since it's part of the policies and procedures manual, I would have no problem in complying with that
Okay.
whatsoever.
All right, I'll second that motion and let it be taken care of.
Okay, no motion, and then second? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Roll call on that, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes. All right, we have a full-time police officer that has turned in his resignation, or his notice. He'll be working out a period, and we're asking that our part-time officer be extended a job offer to replace the full-time officer that we're losing.
When would that be effective? Do we have an effective date?
We have an effective date. My last day of service will be September 26th of 18.
So effective September the 27th, you're requesting that officer,
Can you accept it as full-time by the 27th?
As far as I know, yes.
What's the beginning of the pay period?
well, that's true. Do you know?
Stand by.
Stand by. Birch is the one that submitted the resignation.
It'll be in Robert's, it'll be in Robert's for the pay period.
Yeah. That would be in the middle of the pay period. But we still, I mean, that's happened before, that's not really
The
an
pay
issue.
period starts on the 22nd. Actually, the 23rd, but
He does that full-time job where he's got
If you would like to notice.
Right.
Well, if he can't come by then, he doesn't need to start before the 27th, so it's my thinking on that.
I make a motion that we offer Officer Burke's full-time position as discussed.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? I do want to add, and of course, we're going through the budget right now, and I will be submitting a request for some budget items that include some benefits for our employees. We have been since '98 and continue to be a training ground for employees that come here, get their APOS certification, specifically police officers, get their certification and take off. It's going to be painful to start offering benefits, certainly, but as we grow, that's something, as soon as the council feels like we're able to, we need to look at doing that. That's for another time. We have a motion and a second that we extend that offer to Officer Birch. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Vivian?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Now, am I correct in that Officer Birch currently has 2 sets of uniforms?
He currently has 2.
Okay.
Yep.
at least 1%. 4,003.
Well, I think we probably need to hold off on that until the budget's done.
Yeah, let's try to skate them by to it.
And that's washing machine, I mean, I know it.
We just reported that we're 110% now and shooting for 120, 123%, so. All right, we had a rental of a building, for a wedding reception, and, the group paid their rental fee, like anyone else would. Then they proceeded to come in, trim hedges, cut grass, and do a number of things that they wanted to do that needed to be done to beautify the facilities. And Councilperson Brady has a recommendation.
Actually, I was going to recommend that we reimburse them their rental fee, but the town clerk let me know that they do have an upcoming scheduled rental. I think we should just waive the charges and allow them to rent the second time they've been charged.
I'll second that. Does everybody understand the motion?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes. All right, item K is the bill from Hager Company that was moved from the consent agenda. Meeting with Mayor, Building Inspector, and Mr. Thornton. That's a bill for $220. Hager is the town engineer.
I make a motion that we pay the bill.
Second. It's a motion and second that we pay the bill. Discussion.
Mayor, we have got on to you before about spending money without the council's approval. And here we go again. When is this going to stop?
Ms. Bain,
Yes.
there are things that come up in the administration of this town. As the chief executive officer of the town, I was asked to attend the meeting. When I get to the meeting, Mr. Hager is there, Mr. Thornton is there, George is there, the building inspector. I could hardly say, let's wait and not meet, because I need to talk to the council to get approval to meet with the engineer on something that's designed to move the town forward. It seems to be that it's more, let's not monitor what the mayor does and make sure the things he does are prudent, and more, let's just tie the hands of the mayor so he can't perform the functions of his job. That's the way I feel.
Mr. Mayor, I was aware of that meeting with Mr. with Keith and the building inspector and Mr. Thornton and you several days before the meeting actually occurred. I knew about it, I knew when it was planned and where. There was plenty of time to ask for, because we had no idea going into that meeting if he was going to charge $100 or $1,100. It was another meeting that was apparently related to the septic tank issue, for which tremendous amounts of money has been spent without approval of the council.
Why didn't you make the rest of us aware that somehow or another you found out about it? I didn't know about it. So if you find out something, why can't you let the other council members know also?
I did let several council members know.
You didn't let me.
I was so lost with
I'm not in your group, so I don't get to know.
Again, the meeting, we had an issue of the town council, the town of Lakeview is tasked with deciding a course of action. And that is not one person, that is 6 people. And we've just had 2 years of not following the code of Alabama. And Mr. Keith has done the work, he did show up, he was asked to show up, he was asked to do work. Do I believe he should be paid? Yes, I do, just like I believe he should have been paid the $825 from a couple of months ago. But we continue to come back to the same place again and again and again. That money is being spent, it is not being approved by the council, and it is not approved.
Then maybe we need to, on certain meetings, maybe there needs to be a resolution made where we can do it via email, since we only meet generally once a month.
I don't think we can do that with the Open Meetings Act. I don't think we can do that via email.
Would you favor the town engineer should have a monthly allotment that could be spent? Say how there's.
I think what we need to do is we need to...
Number of hours that need his input immediately. He is the town engineer, it's not somebody who's totally related to the town.
Well, could the pro temp at least be told? And maybe go to the meeting too?
What does the pro temp have to do with?
Regardless of who went to the meeting, it was just another expenditure that was not approved in advance. And I don't have a problem at all with the question being asked of the council, do we spend this money for this project? Because, you know, if, for example, if this application is taken to the health department for the septic tank and they want $300, I believe that the council should be asked, do we pay this $300?
That's what I tried to get done earlier, Tony.
Right.
We've been trying to do it for months.
We've been trying to do it since January.
Yes, ma'am. But we won't, as a council, vote to spend that $300.
We're not being asked if we're going to spend that. You know, tonight, the $300 to resubmit the application is the first thing we've been asked about since this project started. And I would like to again say that if the health department wants another $300, rather than you pay it out of your pocket or somebody else pay it, I would like for it to come back to the council and the council be asked, do we spend this $300 to further this project?
Brad, did you not go down there several months ago and they said that we had to have an additional $300? When we started talking about the $300 and we kept bringing it up and it wouldn't pass, kept bringing it up and wouldn't pass. Is that not correct? They said we had to have it. Yes, our engineer said we should not have to. I was at that meeting also at the end of the table. But if they require us like they said they were going to require us, we've got to be ready to spend that money and not push it back another 30 days. We're dragging our feet on so much stuff. It's unbelievable. We want growth here. I want growth in the town of Lakeview. I never said it. Septic system works best or doesn't work. We don't have the land that I wouldn't go and sell. I've never said that. But by George, we owe it to our people to show we're diligently looking at both ways, and this is what's best. I think it just gets it gets modeled so much.
It's been an emergency ever since we got the letter saying we had 30 days to get something resolved. I mean, that's pretty much an emergency now. We drug our feet for 4 months on that.
That argument could be made that it is an emergency for sure. Because at any moment, that septic tank is going to be crushed in by a track hoe. What's your motion, Ms. Brady?
I still go back to the Code of Alabama, the rule will say, you know, and I would not presume to take money out of Peg Hokup's checking account and write a check for something for $200 without asking her permission to pay that $200, even though I think it's a really good $200 expense. So I didn't make a motion. Earlier when the consent agenda was addressed, I pulled the Hager bill off, and we have not voted whether to pay it or not pay it.
The motion on the table was to
I just made a motion for it.
That's what my motion was.
My motion was to pay the bill, second by Brad. Motion and second on the floor.
All right, thank you. One more person is important to have discussion input because he was in the meeting as well. George.
What I think may be an opportunity or a way to kind of solve some of this concern, in that meeting, it was a necessity for the engineer to be there for certain parts of the discussion. Granted, they happen between meetings, but I have to have the flexibility to be able to use the engineer from time to time, and I can't do that and wait a month to go to council meeting. So I suggest that if the council sees fit, one, we need to pay Mr. Hagler for his work because he was needed in the meeting. Two, I will modify my budget and put in X number of thousands of dollars to cover, just typical cost type stuff. And should there be a need for a special something, then I would approach the council and ask for additional funds. I think that was the way we handled it in our other jurisdictions that I've worked at, where I have the access as needed, because I make phone calls to Mr. Hagler, y'all don't know about it, and he never charges you for those. I've talked to him several times. I've talked to him 3 times this last week, and he never puts a charge into this council to handle city business. And I save the council a lot of money because I do the field inspections on stormwater piping, and I had discussions with him about the water mains and stuff. So we need to be able to have some flexibility to work forward and contact our city engineer and our attorneys as needed to move forward. And if I need to modify my budget and put some funds in there just for that, then that's what I can do. And I think it will solve these problems.
I do too.
Thank you, George. All right, there's a motion and a second on the table. Any other discussion? The motion is that we pay our bill. Roll call, please.
Tony?
Yes.
Nancy? Yes. Vivian?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes. Reports of special committees and boards of council. We'll start with P&Z.
Let's stand up.
Stretch those legs
I'm going to get my papers out.
Yes, ma'am. Take your time.
Before we proceed with that, there was one other thing that should have been on the agenda. I thought.
But it wasn't on the agenda.
It was approved on the agenda.
What was it?
And down here is financial reports. Oh, we talked about that.
No,
No, it wasn't added.
it wasn't added to the agenda.
It could wait. Thank you.
Please.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, at our last planning commission meeting, a request by Chris and Sarah Parker, 13270 Ruby Heights, Movavi, Alabama, to change the town ordinance to allow citizens to own chickens as pets, was denied by a majority vote on August 27, 2018. Several weeks ago, Brad Cook, Nancy Ray, and I volunteered to meet with building inspector George Pickle to discuss subdivision rules and regulations and updating the planning and zoning book in general. At the August 27th meeting, we agreed to meet with him on August 30th at the town hall. Nancy Ray and I met with him and had a very informative meeting, and we plan to meet with him again at a later date. And in the meantime, we are updating our P&Z book. On May the 26th of 2017, Aaron and Kristen Owenby applied to rezone their property on Tammy Drive, Lakeview, Alabama. Planning and zoning proceeded with the proper procedures, and a recommendation to rezone the property was presented to the town council on July 24th, 2017. We understand that Owenby withdrew their request, and P&Z requested a copy of the withdrawal letter from the mayor, council, whoever, for our planning commission records. And I have a resignation letter from Renee Patterson. She moved away. Dated July the 23rd, y'all, we hate to see her go.
23rd, 2018. I have a resident that's interested, and I'll confirm that this month.
Yes, ma'am.
And on July 24th, 2018, planning and zoning action on Dollar General, 13079 Broadway Drive, Lakeview, Alabama, 35111, the zone is B1 community business. Several months ago, I volunteered to serve on the Lakeview History Documents Committee. And in gathering information, it came to my attention that the rack that held the subdivision maps is missing, and so are several books that were used by members from time to time. They were shared in a room upstairs that a former building inspector shared with the planning commission. According to the League of Municipalities and Sunshine Law, the planning commission is a part of the town government, and records should be kept in a secure location. Of course, I know that the planning commission minutes book, is kept here. And since 2017, planning and zoning has dealt with preliminaries that includes the construction of 450 new homes. That's revenue for the town. It's we figured about $1.5 million.
To address your statement that you don't know where the rack is that holds the flats, last year when I was removing some items from the cart barn, there was old dog food. That rack is out there. The box is out there, the box is empty, but I believe the flats that were hanging in there are rolled up and put on the table. So, in reference to that, the rack is there? Yeah, the rack is there, so in reference to that, I'd like to make a motion that that rack be taken out of the cart barn and placed back in here with the flats, placed back on.
I don't think we need to make a motion. What did we have?
Well, it needs to be preserved.
Sure. Now, you mentioned history books.
No, the Lakeview history.
Because, I've got books in my office, 3-room binders, several of them that have the history that somebody put together. I'm assuming that makes sense.
What I'm talking about, we had books on just various planning commission information.
Okay, I misunderstood.
And maps and what have you that we used to keep, in the building inspector's office. So, but when I was doing the history, I found out they're gone. So
I may get you to come over so that we can discern which of those belong and which don't.
I ain't moving anything.
I'll move it. I just need your finger to point which ones need to be moved.
It needs your knowledge.
Anything else?
That'll do.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You tell the story. You
The
do.
meeting, 24, 7 o'clock. It's not.
7 o'clock, that's right. Thank you.
I was just afraid Nancy was going to say she took the stuff home with her.
No, I just remember seeing it in there, and I did put a sticky note, I didn't want to sell it, because at that time there was also stuff in there for the yard sale.
Ms. Annette, anything else from budget and finance?
I need numbers.
Thank you. That was a request for budgets. Submit your request for budget. Gus Board report.
I was provided a Gus Board report. It was provided to me by the president of the Gus Board, and I was asked to read it. It's addressed to the town council. It's regarding Gus Resolution 2018-184-3. Town of Lakeview, Council Resolution 72-012918. For 8 months, and pursuant to the above-referenced actions, the gas and sewer provider have been laying out the terms of the utility service agreement. During this time, there have been numerous attempts to come together with the mayor of the town of Lakeview to begin negotiations. However, the mayor has refused to meet. On September the 10th, 2018, the sewer provider contacted the Gus president with a request that she forwarded the following to the Gus chair for a timely delivery to the town of Lakeview council. I do have this, and I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session so that I can lay out what was presented.
I will certainly move forward with that. I want as part of the permanent record that I have received no phone call, no email, no written letter asking me to take part in any type of discussion with the sewer provider, the president of the GUTS.
And to, the executive session probably should take less than 30 minutes, so hopefully we'll be back.
I know all of you are going to wait for us to get out of there, so, but I know Mr. Fisher will. Second,
Second it. May we have a 5-minute pit stop, please?
make it, I understand, make it as quick as possible. Roll call, please.
Tony? Yes. Nancy? Yes. Vivian? Yes. Brad?
Yes.
Jim? Yes. Paul?
Yes. All right, back as quick as we can, folks.